And let's get straight into one of the more controversial topics. Venom.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Definitely not controversial.
Oh, yeah, let's...
So let's throw a big spoiler out there. If you are listening, we are going to go into like spoiler territory. You're not going to be missing much, but
Cut to this timestamp if you want to avoid...
flashing on the screen,
Yeah.
like right somewhere. I don't know. I'm not even going to point because it might look awful. So, the movie, what were your thoughts?
I knew going in it was going to be 90 minutes, and I knew it was going to be fast-paced, but even then, it still caught me a little off guard because I didn't really care for many of the main characters. Shriek wasn't doing it for me. Cletus Cassidy himself wasn't doing it for me. I wish there was more carnage. It felt like it should have been a rated R movie, but due to the pandemic and the fact that it already would be not making nearly as much money as it probably would, they really cut down on the gore. Like, I felt like that entire scene in the jail when he first broke out, it should have been a lot more gory and bloody. Like, they really held back, and like, I felt if it was a 2-hour movie, they would have made it rated R, and they would have took more time on Cletus's character, because I think he's a lot more interesting than what was portrayed on screen. I think the whole flashback where it was like animated, I didn't really like that. I think what it should have been was like a montage of him actually doing those things with his voice writing the letter in the background, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, overall thoughts, I was entertained, and that's really about it. I was entertained, but it wasn't the best movie. Like, that's as simply put as I can give it. So
I kind of agree. So I hadn't seen the first Venom until the day before I watched this one. And let's be honest, the only reason I was going to watch this one was for the rumored post-credit scene, which we'll get into in a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, I watched the first one. I didn't find it like offensively bad, but I kind of had the same feeling as you, where it was like, I think if they took the 2-hour mark, we could have really gotten into a little bit more character development. They had been talking about how they were pushing the limits of PG-13, and I feel like that's kind of a stretch. Like, saying fuck once does not mean you're pushing the limits.
This guy.
Yeah, saying fuck one time is not pushing the limits of PG-13.
I felt like that was a good Venom impression.
Yeah, that was actually solid. I'm not going to brush over that.
Thank you.
That was good.
I've never done that impression before.
But it's like they should have definitely focused more on like making Carnage seem like a scarier threat, and that would have happened with either more gore, or if not even gore, just you could kill people pretty brutally without there being like blood, guts type thing.
I did not. The whole tornado thing that he did, that threw me off.
Yeah, I was like, what the?
Yeah,
and
where did that come from?
How did he already know to do that?
That felt like very Looney Tunes, you know?
Yes, absolutely. There were parts of it where I just felt like Carnage, I get him being a little bit goofy, but, or like at least Cletus Cassidy being a little bit goofy and off the rails. I feel like they made him a little too goofy, kind of like how they did with Venom. And you have your criticisms of Venom being goofy in the first place, like a lot of people have said. I feel like it's not awful sometimes. Sometimes it's a little entertaining. Sometimes I can kind of understand it from the point of they're trying to make it more of like they want him to be like kind of more of that anti-hero, not necessarily Deadpool-like, but in the sense of like he's not necessarily a villain, so they don't want him to be like a total asshole.
Morally, he knows what is right and wrong. He just doesn't go about it in the best way.
Yeah, but I think that the writing, or maybe if they're trying to make him seem more likable by doing the comedy shit, I don't know if that's the right move. I'm also super casual, so maybe I'm like, this isn't like a good take at all. But overall, I didn't think the movie was like offensively bad. It wasn't amazing, but it reminded me of like really old like Marvel or DC movies. Like it kind of felt like a flashback. It didn't really feel like this was like a new superhero movie
Gotcha. Yeah.
until I saw the post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Because then you're like, oh shit, and this is where we'll get into the post-credit scene. So the even bigger spoilers.
Actually,
He's in.
One last thing about the main movie before post-credit scene. The biggest example of how little they focused on character development was when they straight up told us every character's motivation. Like, you know that scene where like Cassidy, Carnage, and Shriek are in the forest, and like Cassidy's like, I want Eddie Brock. Shriek's like, I want the cop. Carnage is like, I want Venom. Like, okay, that makes it real easy on the audience. Yeah, they didn't give us a chance to even like understand them. They just told you.
Yeah.
I didn't really like that.
That was the other thing. Is like, I know for most fans they're gonna know about like Carnage being like Venom's son.
Mm-hmm.
But like they should have gone a little bit more in depth into like.
There's some bug behind your ear. Sorry. Ah. Okay.
Don't like bugs.
Noticed.
I think that they should have spent more time like focusing on why Carnage wanted Venom so bad.
Yeah.
Just at least for like casual fans like me, because I understand it to some extent where it's like, okay, maybe there's like some weird heat about it, but like
Yeah.
it doesn't quite make sense if you don't really know shit about Carnage.
Didn't really think about that because they didn't really give you a reason. It was just like, I need to kill you, Dad.
Yeah, and they didn't really even explain how Carnage was Venom's quote-unquote son, or how Venom reacted to that.
Uh-huh.
Venom was just kind of like, oh shit, a red one. And the red one's like, I'm going to kill you, Dad.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill you, Father.
Yeah.
He's
how
like,
do you know where you
nobody was like, Father?
Yeah.
Father? How the fuck did that happen?
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of get it because he swallows the little bit of symbiote or whatever and
The blood. Yeah.
mixes it with the blood. It should have been a little bit more like elaborated on, but I think that was part of the time problem. Mm-hmm. Cutting it down to 90 minutes is just that you kind of cut out that bigger chunk of the story.
Yeah.
But
should have been rated R, but I understand why they
try to make it more accessible.
Yeah. Money's tight, you know?
Money's tight, and also like you can't hint a Spider-Man movie with like the rated R movie and then expect a bunch of kids to get excited about it because they probably couldn't have gone and seen it.
For sure. Yeah.
So.
Post-credit time?
Yep, that was basically just me blowing the whole post-credit.
Well, we basically covered it, so let's move on. No.
But yeah, the post-credit scene, it's exactly like the leak we had seen.
Yeah, we have a bad problem about knowing what we're gonna watch before we watch it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just being on TikTok, man. I mean, you could just be scrolling and they're like, hey, you know that movie that's coming out? Yeah. Here's every single thing that happens in 5 seconds. And then they just give you everything.
Before giving you a chance to react and swipe away. Yeah, it's like...
And you're like, oh, it might not be like that big of a spoiler. And they're like, so basically, his cousin, like, they'll go down into like the nitty gritty, like.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so we had seen leaked audio from the post-credit scene from like early, like press release type thing.
Early viewings or whatever.
Yeah. And essentially it's just Tom and Venom. Went by the actor name.
The actor and then the character.
Yeah. So it's Eddie and Venom sitting in a bed. It's kind of run down in like an old beach house.
Yeah.
And then Venom is about to explain the hive and like the whole symbiote thing.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere you just hear like a vroom, 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 vroom.
Yeah, everything starts glitching. It turns yellow.
And then they're in this like brand new pretty beach house.
Yeah.
They're like, what the fuck happened? TV has the Daily Bugle.
J. Jonah Jameson talking about
Spider-Man being a murderer. And then Venom licks the TV like a little horny dude.
Yeah. I think he's gay for Eddie.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they love each other.
Yeah. Yeah, they said the O word at the end. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We our theory was that we think that he's gonna show up in the post-credit scene.
Yeah, I think they're there's very little time in between this movie and No Way Home, and while the hype is obviously there, I still think it's going to be Rhino as a sixth member, and Sony will be setting up their own Venom versus Spider-Man movie, and yeah.
That's what makes the most sense to me too. Is like, I definitely don't think that they would just throw him into like a team effort like that.
Yeah.
I feel like for something that big, something that they've kind of been hinting at and building up to, they would want to capitalize on it in the biggest way possible.
Yeah, as opposed to how they did Venom dirty in Spider-Man 3 as, like, maybe not a tertiary villain, but, like, someone who deserves the main focus of their own movie but never got it.
Definitely.
I don't think they want to make that mistake again. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think may be good. Maybe. But
We'll see.
it's just exciting to see.
Yeah.
So we'll be keeping in touch on that.